are you?
Good, how are you?
Oh, I'm good.
How's your daughter's teeth?
Good. She's doing good. So,
Doing good?
yeah, she's a lot tougher being.
Generally.
Yeah, that's how I was saying. My boys.
See the money. But then he calling sick and he down the garage working. He's like, I'm dying and I'm taking care of 4 kids. That's why they made men, you know, who they are, and the women have babies because there's only been one child per family.
Right?
That's the way I always thought it. You know Brian's daughters?
Yeah, she's actually got quite a few offers. There's all colleges, but yeah, I think she's.
I haven't seen her name in
Yeah,
there.
she's
So I
playing
just
quite a
was
bit.
wondering if called me. He's on his way to Maple Mountain
No.
because we're playing. We're going to get cream.
Oh,
That's what I. That's what probably works.
yeah. Thought about it. Right. And a house. House out back, so she knows.
Last council, I think. Tell you all the reasons why.
I'd have to look it up on my phone, because I left it sitting on the table. But I hope we keep Bob on to my numbers.
We're close. Brittany, tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready when you are.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to get started. I'd like to welcome you out to the Roy City Council meeting for February 18th, 2025. The time now is 5:30. I want to welcome and recognize that we have Councilmember Jackson with us tonight, Councilmember Scadden, Councilmember Wilson, Councilmember Paul, and Councilmember Saxton, all joining us tonight. We're excited about that. Okay, we've asked Councilmember Scadden if you'll go ahead and lead us in a moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance. Randy?
If you join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. If you can join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Council, we have some consent items, specifically some minutes to meetings and some surplus vehicles. Any comments, questions, or concerns relative to those consent items?
I just have a few small changes that I will send pictures to Brittany.
Okay. And I assume those changes specifically to the minutes, is that correct?
To the minutes, yes.
Any other comments, questions relative to consent items? Council?
Nope.
Okay, hearing and seeing none then, do I have a motion to approve the consent items?
So moved. I move that we approve the consent items with the addition of the slight changes on the minutes.
Okay, Diane, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ann. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, those consent items are approved. Thank you. This is a public comment period. If you have something you'd like to share with us, please step up to the mic. Just give us your name and your address. Any topic? Any issue? Anything?
What's going
You
on?
must be doing something right.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, then we'll just move on from public comment. Thank you. Okay, we do have some presentations. We're going to start with the CenturyLink Lumen CenturyLink presentation, and Sean, you're it. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Thank you for allowing me to be here. See if I can hook this up real quick. That'll be all right.
And if you can really talk into that mic, Sean, that way not only we can hear it and it becomes part of the record, but equally important, the people in the rear can hear it.
Perfect, thank you. See if I can, is it gonna go to that TV? Is that
Both.
how it should work? All right, thank you. All right, thank you for again allowing me to be here today to talk a little bit about the work that we're attempting to do in Roy City. I recognize that a few months ago, some information was brought to the council discussing our build and what we were trying to do in Roy. There were some concerns that were expressed around the use of pedestals versus everything being below grade. I wanted to talk a little bit about that today and share some information on what we're trying to accomplish in Roy, and I'm going to go through these pretty quick. I think a lot of this you're already aware of, but I wanted to kind of show here the areas in green in Roy City are where we're attempting right now to, we had a build plan for 2024 and 2025 to bring fiber optic connection to the residents of Roy. When we originally signed the franchise agreement with the city, as we worked through that, there was a point of discussion around what was considered underground from Lumen's perspective. As we talk about telecom industry, when we talk about underground facilities, we're usually referencing anything below grade, including pedestals. That was not the understanding that the city had as we walked through that, wanting everything to be below grade. Specifically, we had these 5 to 6 projects for 2,200 living units that we were trying to build to. At the time that we put these in to be funded, and we worked through our personal funding of these as a company, we built that through with pedestals being our underground method of deployment. After meeting with the city and understanding that that was not the case, that was not what was expected from the city, I had my team go back and attempt to modify these builds. Part of the challenge is, from a company perspective, to put things below grade and in hand holes is a significantly higher cost, both from just materials and excavation needs to do that. So as I'm trying to modify and make sure that we can build out in Roy, we've talked to a few different individuals here, some of you on the council or in your Public Works Department, about the option to do a hybrid model where we would build as much below grade as possible, but we would have to have some pedestals above ground. I know last time this was presented, the discussion was that that would roughly be 1 pedestal for each 2 homes. That's not the case. We would be able to drastically limit the number of pedestals that we would have to utilize as a company, but still be able to build in Roy. And one of the challenges that I have as we're trying to work through this, with the restrictions we have on the capital spend, if I'm not able to do some kind of a hybrid modification, I may not be able to build out to these 2,200 residents in Roy, which I'd rather obviously be able to do that. I laid out here, and the presentation has been emailed, and you'd all have it available to you. These are the projects that are listed there on the left, and the number of homes that they would serve approximately, and the number of pedestals that I would need to utilize to serve those homes. We would be trying to limit, of course, the number of pedestals. We're flexible in working with the city and the Public Works Group and where we place those pedestals, allowing us to still have access. One of the things that I'd like to highlight here as we talk about impacts to the residents, and I'll come back to this slide, but I want to show there's a couple of different methods that we utilize. This is the excavation, standard excavation for a hand hole to go below grade for a standard box, and the impact that has. Of course, restoration, everything looks great after, but there is significant cost in making sure that we dig all the space available, place the hand hole, get the facilities into it. In this method, and you'll see the far left, that's a type of, it's not the same box that we use, but it is a fiber pedestal. The footprint and the need to disturb is significantly less for the residents, and it's a lot easier and faster for us to be in and out of an area. And then a couple examples of the actual boxes that we use there, 12-inch pedestals. They're roughly 2.5 to 3 feet tall. And like I had mentioned, we try to limit the impact to the residents. As we go through doing construction, there's just kind of what to expect. Our groups come through and door hang ahead of time, our contractors, talking to the residents, leaving notification of what will be done, rough timelines on how long we'd be in the neighborhood and what we'd be accomplishing. Through construction, we do have groups that would be drilling, boring, digging up, hand digging, doing the work that needed to be done to place those facilities, and we would be communicating throughout that process. We do leave contact information for both myself, and I should have introduced right off, I apologize. I'm Sean Goff, I'm the Director of Engineering Construction for the Northwest for our company. I have a senior manager that operates in this area. I live here in Utah, in Farmington, so I am local. But my team is all local, and we have contact information that's provided to the residents for both internal Lumen employees and our contractor, which is Fugel, that does our work in the city. And then after restoration, I'm going to leave it like we found it. If there's any concerns or issues with any of the residents, we come back, address those, and we won't close out the project until everything's been addressed. Again, we start with an inspection, utility marking, understanding where we need to be. As I mentioned earlier, if allowed to do a hybrid model, we would work with whoever we need to from the city engineering and public works department to establish where we can best place those facilities and ensure that we're in compliance. And then we go through the permitting process, which we've started and what kind of has led us here to this presentation today. And then going through our construction, cleanup after the project, and just closing out with the city when completed. So I'll run back here just to this page again. So our ask to the council today is if we have an option to utilize a hybrid model of both above ground pedestals and as many below grade handholds as we can to still be economically viable to build out to the city. And I'm happy to answer any questions or address any other concerns that you might have.
So I was just wondering, so I just had connects come through and I have stuff in my yard. And so would you be like doing a different area that connects did or?
No, we're in essence, they're our competitor through this, so we would be building in similar areas that Connex has come through.
But you would ask permission to put a pedestal in my yard because,
Potentially.
I mean, because
We
I don't
would-
even use Connex, but I have a thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to drill through my foundation to put it in. So I just didn't know if you're just going to go through or have to have our permission in order to go through. And the only thing with pedestals that I see working at a high school and things, kids run over them and they draw little nice things on them. And so that's the only thing that I like about it being in the ground is one of the main reasons. Plus, it's easy to mow around too if you don't have something above your ground. So,
Well, I think to your point, if the city council approves this, and Sean, let me make sure it's clear to the council, if the city council approves this, then there is an easement on all properties. And your company then, once the approval's done, will use that easement opportunity to go ahead and install.
Correct.
Coordinate, obviously, to the extent of when that will happen, but to the point in, you would not be able, or individual would not be able to not allow that to happen. It will happen. Whether you connect into the service or not, it's not relevant. Where that pedestal, or you're saying a hybrid pedestal will be,
Well, it'd be a pedestal, and then we would also use handholds. So when I say
Okay.
hybrid, just to be clear, we would use as few pedestals as we had to, which is part of the percentages we have here, trying to limit it from roughly a normal build would be anywhere from 50 to 75% pedestals. And we've gotten it down in most cases to an average of 19% of the households of those 2,000 would have a pedestal in their yard or on their property
or
line.
on their property at
Yes.
some point. And
Correct.
so, to the extent that I think they might be able to help, they have to have a pedestal and so much distance in between. I mean, there's got to be a reason for that connectivity. It may impact you, or it may go right past you. It's just not sure. Obviously, I think maybe to your point, Ann, if they were going to need to put a pedestal in your yard, they just need to tell you, we need to put a pedestal in your yard. That would be probably your input to knowledge. What you would get out of this, you would get is some notification in advance. They would come in and do it, and then the resident would get some contact information if there was a problem that they can simply says, hey, you clipped my water line or you clicked my something else, and they would come in and provide the repair before they would basically say the project's done. Is that a fair assessment?
Fair assessment, Mayor. Thank
Okay.
you. And to address part of the concern, I would love nothing more than to be able to put everything below grade. There are advantages, of course, above grade, especially where we live in a snowy environment and things get buried, and then it's harder to find some of those that are below grade versus our pedestals. But the reality is pedestals get run over, pedestals get knocked over, pedestals get graffitied and damaged. The real prohibitive element for me here in Roy City is just cost. For me to be able to build out to these 2,200 residents, I have to modify that cost from what it was initially designed, and that was full pedestals.
Yeah.
So that's the
Okay.
big challenge.
And then I guess my other question would be is that, and Matt, we may need to have some feedback here. Within the last 6 or 8 months, the city council did approve a standard by which we would allow then this this type of work to take place. And two purposes to that is that one is that it would be the same for any person that wanted to go through that easement and provide the similar kind of service. And so what we would have to consider, unless you tell me otherwise, is to be fair and equitable to all, that we would probably need to go back to that very agreement that the council approved and have to modify that if we want to do something different for this particular company versus the other. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, that's correct, Mayor. So it would need to have an amendment to the agreement, just to clarify, as there is that difference of opinion as to what that means in the agreement, which would just be the standard going forward. I think Connext is already done with their build out, and so, I mean, if they wanted to come and switch, that we'd have to give them that opportunity as well.
And so, council, I think to the point is, this certainly is a good presentation. I think you got something to think about, but there's another component to this conversation I think you need to have. So we may have to have a follow-on conversation. Meaning is, what does that change look like? And how will that change, if we do make a change, be fair to anybody else who chooses to go forward? And to the point, there'll need to be a mod to an agreement that you've already signed and approved. So I think what we do is we take, unless you tell me something different, we take Sean's input. He certainly has given us a request, okay? Now we bump that against what we've already said and already committed to, who already is digging, who already has projects, and then we basically make this conversation that simply says, do we go ahead and make an amendment, okay, to the existing policy? Is that a fair statement, Matt?
Yeah, it would just be an amendment to the agreement.
Okay. So any comments or questions for Sean as it relates to this?
Do you have other cities that you're using the pedestals in currently that you're, in action of?
Yes. I'm building last year I built into roughly 28,000 households in Utah by itself. Most of those are pedestals. So it's just been as we've signed some of these most recent franchise agreements, that we've been discussing below grade versus our understanding of underground, which includes pedestals. So right now, Centerville, West Valley, Brigham City are just a few of the recent completions where we've used pedestals. And in Brigham City, mostly pedestals.
Okay.
And if you were going to use this mix, would you be able to commit that it is 19% that would be pedestals, or would this be, I mean, you kind of were a little bit, give and take, and so sometimes you wonder if it's not set in stone, how much give and how much take.
No, what's laid out
That's
here
what
for
is
you
there?
is set in stone.
Okay.
That would be exactly what we would use, those number of pedestals. And of course, reducing if possible, but that's, as we map it out, right, not running into things we run into from a construction perspective at the time, this is what we would be expected to be held to as we built out.
Good eyes, Randy.
Yep, yeah, as I say.
Good eyes.
Yep,
Yeah.
421 pedestals is what it comes out
Okay.
to
Great.
of the 2210.
And-
But you're going to have areas. I mean, if you look, there's going to be the second one from the bottom, 41%. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yes, 41%.
40, yeah.
That's 290 residents.
Yeah.
And some of that is the complexity of where it's being built and where we could actually dig or not dig.
Sure.
So that's, a lot of that is why we've had to look at and try to redesign
Yeah.
as a part of that.
So I'll just ask, I'll just be brutally blunt.
No, please.
Why can Connext do ground level and you guys are Lumen, who is Quantum, who is just a rebranded Century? What do you guys call
Yeah,
yourselves these days?
so this is Quantum Fiber is the product,
Yep.
right? CenturyLink is what you know as mostly your copper type stuff, and Lumen is the umbrella company that does more of the technology
Which used to be
side.
US West, which was then CenturyLink, which was then Quest, which was, like I said, it's just
100%, yes.
Yep.
Yes. And so the main reason you ask
Sure.
is just funding. So realistically, for us to try and build
Mm-hmm.
as many places as we're building right now, I only have a limited capital funds. I don't know how Connext funded theirs, but it would have been a higher cost for them than it is, than I'm able to bear in bringing it to Roy.
So I have two connects in my parking, And so would you have to get permission from them to put your pedestal right next to their connects? Or would you put it in a whole other end of my parking?
So we work under the city guidelines as far as the easement go that the mayor was talking about. So we try to keep facilities grouped as best we can so that we're not spread across someone's entire front yard or park strips or wherever it lands. So we would probably be very close to those boxes. We have to be cautious, in maintaining a decent distance so we don't damage their facilities. But we try to keep those facilities bundled up, especially when it impacts someone's yard. Again, that's another piece we can look at as we place some of these, is we're trying to have as little impact as possible, knowing this is a concern for the city. So we would work with the Public Works group. They might say, hey, yeah, you can do this, but we don't want pedestals here and here, and we would try to work around that. We also try to be cognizant of areas that are high traffic that are probably going to be damaged. So if we can avoid someone backing out and hitting our pedestal all the time, and we can place an underground in an area like that, we try to do that. But to give you a gauge, it roughly costs me, I would have to replace a pedestal 3 times to equal the cost of one underground facility. So it's easier for me when they do knock it over to put it back and fix it and put it back than it is to bury it.
And so you say you're doing it
Roughly.
because of being competitive, so that means you're cheaper than the other one that I already have. And
I don't know what Connect's prices are, but we are trying.
Because that's
Yeah.
what people are going to want to know if they have 2 of them in their yard, which ones gives them the better deal.
Yep.
And then do we give an unfair advantage because we've changed the rules partway? That's, a good point.
Well, I think, Diane, that really becomes the heart of the conversation, which requires the follow-on conversation. You need to now see what is the impact. And so I think if we take Sean's input and says, hey, this is what he's proposing, and now we cap that with some feedback in terms of where we are, who's also involved, who's already got a contract out, who's doing it, who's done it, bring that back to another meeting, then I think you can see all sides of this before you make a decision whether you want to modify the existing agreement or plan.
Do we have to take that through planning commission? Because wasn't it land use or no?
No, it's
Okay.
not land use.
All right.
So, any other questions for Sean?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Sean, let us take the next step of, since we got this assignment, and really important to make sure the city manager knows, or Brandon knows, Public Works, contact information as we now take this up, and we'll rework this one and get the information the council will need.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Okay, this is going to be a conversation that we're going to ask Lori to talk about, and I'm going to assume you're referring to it as I'm thinking Ogden Police Department, but OPD, that's what that means to me, but does it mean something else to you, Lori?
It is Ogden Police Department.
Okay.
It is.
Please go ahead and just give us your name, and please tell us
My
what
name is Lori Frazier.
Thank you.
Just so you know a little bit about me, I worked for North Ogden Police for 17 years. And when I retired, Ogden Police asked me to help them with their events. And so I get the privilege of helping with the Citizens Academy. The Citizens Academy, there's 2 of us that facilitate it from Ogden Police. However, most of the agencies in the county help us. So on a particular week, we might have 2 or 3 different agencies help us and do a presentation. So it's a 7-week program, and we meet once a week for 3 hours. Then we have one Saturday that in the morning we go to a vacant building and give the participants SIM guns, and Weber County officers hide in the building. And so they get to see what it's like to track down a suspect. And what the objective of this whole program is, it's to see what the officers go through and to kind of get an idea what it's like to go into an empty building or to use a taser or to go to CSI. The other half of that full Saturday, we go to the fire department. And on 12th Street, they have that big tower. And depending on the weather, the fire department will let you go up the ladder and all the way to the top. So that gives you an idea what it's like for the firemen to go and work on fires. There's so many different agencies to help us, and Trace Benson has helped us the last couple of years. Officer Frawley, but I don't think it's just Officer Frawley anymore. Is he a sergeant? No, he's still an officer. He helped us for many years. So he does the restraint holds and helps the citizens understand what it's like to take a suspect down. We go to the jail for Weber County. We go to CSI. Weber State helps us. North Ogden does the tasers, and they're able to use the tasers, which is really interesting because I didn't know until it was explained to me that a taser doesn't shoot out straight. It shoots out one like this and one like this. And so the officers have to know how to hit the suspect with both prongs or it doesn't take effect. And so it's interesting to see the participants try to use the taser. You can go on. This is our last group. We have a variety of people that come. We've had 13. You can go ahead to the next one. It started in 2017. We've had 13 complete courses. And once the course goes through, they graduate on the last day. We've had 3 city mayors. We've had 21 city council members. We've had 12 clergy, 6 community advocates, 25 teachers, and a variety of community members. So the only requirement is they need to have a background check and they need to be 18 years of age. We've had quite a few dispatchers do it so that they know what's happening on the end of the calls. It's important because especially Ogden Police wants to relate to the community. They don't want the community to have misunderstandings about what the officers are going through. And it helps when the participants are able to basically role play or hear from the drug task force or be able to listen to SWAT and see the equipment. It gives the community a lot of information that they need. We have a video that will show you one of our complete Citizens Academies. Hopefully it will work.
What stood out for me is definitely the different perspective that you get to see in regards to the eyes of a law enforcement. So it's been a great training from the beginning to the end. You see everything that law enforcement has to train for and the stressful situations that they have to go into. So definitely being able to see that has been eye-opening for me.
When you're sitting on the sideline thinking about it, you're like, oh, this is easy, I can do this. But then when you actually get put in the situation, your mind kind of goes blank. You kind of don't have any idea what to do. It puts into perspective how much training the first responders go through to perform under those situations.
situations. A lot of them a normal citizen, everyday life wouldn't be able to handle without all of these techniques, tactics, and skills. It definitely does bring a lot of perspective into maybe tearing down some of those stereotypes and myths that you hear about their duties and responsibilities.
All the million things that are going on behind you, like when we did the sim round things, same thing, you go in there and you're thinking, oh, this will be easy, you just gotta look for a guy hiding, but you don't realize that there's ledges above doors, and that there's so much more to everything here, even like the simple pullovers that we did, and it just gives you a whole lot more respect for these guys and what they do, and it's awesome to see what they do.
It's been really interesting getting a perspective from inside to know what officers think, what the interaction with the community is, and how we can both benefit and be helpful to our community. So I think it's been a great experience.
It's a pretty intense 7 weeks. Do you have any questions?
Okay, council, any questions for Lori?
Is this a cost to
No,
do
there's
this?
no cost.
No, it's free. Do you take attendance in case there's one Wednesday you can't show up?
You know, if you just miss one, it's not a problem. If you don't come the whole time, you don't graduate. But other than that, we all have a week that we can't make it here or there.
May I say that it's a phenomenal program, and you need to sign up. It
We would
is
love to
really
have
cool.
you.
Well,
You guys, it
if
is
we could
really neat.
choose who
one
we
of the
could
city council
tase.
members that's done it?
I must have been, yeah.
Okay, all
yeah.
right.
Did you do it?
I did.
Did you?
It's phenomenal, and that's she's
And
been
did you
helping a
tase
lot.
somebody and get them?
Well, it wasn't as good as it should have been. I'll just say that.
How often do you do this?
We do it in the spring and the fall. And we only take about 15 people each time so that you have plenty of time to participate. We
So-
don't want a big group. We're taking applications right now for the spring, and it starts on the 6th of March.
Say that
So
date
you s-
again.
Go
The
to
6th
Diana
of
Lopez
March.
and you just email you.
Just send it to Diana,
Okay.
and she'll get your background check done. Obviously, that wouldn't be a problem. But anyway, the reason we
Hopefully
wanted
we'll
to
all
come
pass.
is we feel that the council members gain so much through doing this so that they know what their officers are doing, but also your employees through the whole city and your community. We love, there's a lot of different people, the teachers. It's really informative for the teachers to learn, what drugs are in the community or, what's going on.
Okay. Okay, council, any other comments, questions?
Open this up to everyone, like, it's not just a council today. Is this are you publicly inviting people to apply? Okay.
The county.
The county.
Anyone in the county. We have had couples do it together, which is really fun. They enjoy doing that.
I don't want my wife tasing me.
You don't want that. We had one young man stab his father with a fake gun, couldn't get the taser out quick enough. But it's nice to do it with someone you know, but it's nice to do it alone too.
So how do you advertise so people know about this?
Well, it came out in the magazine last year, but other than that, it's pretty much word of mouth.
So Ogden City Magazine. Okay.
Well, it was in the Connections, and I don't know if you guys
we don't
did.
have that no more. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of gone away. So that's why we're going to the city councils to let you know. So if you can put it in your newsletter, it's probably too late this time, but the fall session there would be time, and your employees, all of your employees.
Okay.
So
Well, Lori, thank you. Got some information that we did, and the contact information is on the last piece of the paper.
It is.
Just reach out to Diana, and
Yes.
she can help us coordinate if we'd like to do this.
yes,
Perfect.
thank
Okay.
you so much for allowing us the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Good
offering it.
information.
Thanks.
Okay, we got one discussion item, Public Works Dumpster Day. Brandon, I think you're talking this one.
Hello. So, yeah, you guys are probably all pretty familiar with our cleanup program. We run it 2 weeks in the spring and 2 weeks in the fall. So we noticed that the first week we do get quite a bit of participation, but it kind of dies off in the second week. So we down at Public Works would like to propose and see if you guys are open to having a week in April and then a week in May. So basically just breaking up the 2 weeks. So we have a week in April, a week in May, and then a week in September and a week in October. So we were kind of, we were planning on doing April 21st through May 3rd, and then October 6th through the 18th. But if you guys are open to it, we'd like to do April 14th through the 19th, and then open it back up May 12th through the 17th. And then our fall cleanup would be September 29th through October 4th, and then October 20th through the 25th of October.
Okay. Council, do you have any comments, questions, ideas about Brandon's request?
Nope, I like it.
I do
it,
think
man.
it's a better way to
Yeah.
serve. I guess the one question comes up, seems like it's usually kind of an expensive venture when we do this. Do you remember offhand how much this cost a week for us?
I don't know, Amber, do you? Yeah. Yeah, I believe it all comes out of solid waste though, right? So it doesn't affect the general fund at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. But I know it is popular.
It's in your
with the residents.
packet,
gearing
and
up.
all you have to do is look in your packet. It's the one that basically doesn't have employees assigned, and there's a budget in there. So that's the one that pays the overtime if necessary to the employees that get loaned into that budget line.
What was our Saturday participation rate?
I know it does get busy. I believe they said they had, the first Saturday is obviously the most
Yeah.
busiest, and they said they had around 200 people show up.
Okay,
So,
all right, never mind.
And then,
We'll
yeah.
take that off the table, as I say.
I was gonna say, I'd rather see you guys busy for a solid week than sitting there waiting for and wasting
Yeah.
time. So yes.
And
I
it
like the
allows
week.
people to do the cleanup at different times. It
Yeah.
really makes sense because, yeah.
yeah,
Makes
it works great for my guys
And then
as well.
Brittany
2
would get it
weekends
in
a
her
row.
next newsletter.
Newsletter, post it all over Facebooks. Yeah, we got this. We can,
Yep, I like it.
I like it.
Yeah,
Okay,
me too.
So we'll plan on them days.
Okay, Brandon, I think you got, Matt, I think you got a head nod from everybody that basically supports the idea of mixing this up a bit. So let's go ahead and plan it. Brandon, if you could get that posted on your website as soon as you can, because people do plan around that event. Okay, thank you. Okay, anything else? Anything else, Brandon? Okay. City manager report, council report, Matt?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I do not have anything to report today.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. Council, anything you'd like to share? Anything you'd like to see done? Anything?
I'd like
Please.
to share. So Chief Williams shared his newsletter this last week, and it was phenomenal. Great way to educate the citizens, the residents. Great way to share and to kind of highlight everything that goes on. It was very well done. I totally enjoyed it.
I would like to echo that and jump up and down and that kind of stuff, because that was done very nicely. And thank you. And we're looking forward to, I've been reviewing the 22-23 police reports. They're so fascinating. I can't wait for the next one, actually. I mean, they are so much work, but I think the information is so helpful. So thank you. That was beautifully done.
Yeah.
I guess the question, Chief, would be is how often do you put your newsletter out?
You set the bar really high. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just as long as the
long as we can hear
public can hear your comment, that'd be perfect.
No, we feel like quarterly will be a good amount to share information. We believe too much, they'll just be ignored. So we're hoping to do this quarterly. So
And that will be found on your website, correct?
website, we have some work to do. We've identified there's some work to be done, but it'll be on social media and then attached through a QR code to the website.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason for my question, Matt, would be is that we already have a newsletter going out in the water bill. I don't think you have enough room to be able to do any more in that except add information. I think it's a 4-page. So this will be a separate newsletter coming out from the fire department, correct? Is that how you see it? Okay.
Your newsletter's all digital.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we've discussed doing a paper one in the water bill, but due to the price and it's expensive. We're going to try a different way where we'll print some off on our own and take them around to different locations like apartments where you can't get into the different mailboxes. So we'll post those like the Hope Center. We'll try to hit all the demographics, but we do plan on sending that newsletter out paper to sub locations.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah. It's, good information, Chief. Thank you. Okay, Council, anything else you'd like to share? Please, Brandon. Brian?
Yeah, just wanted to point out that Golden West is now expanding its parking lot, and Redmond's Farms is soon to locate in the city. They are currently renovating their space, and they're kind of a health store, but we're glad to have it. So thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Anything else, Council?
Nope, except for Brandon, thanks for getting my roads cleared good and not plowing in my driveway. But we've probably saved a lot of money on snow plowing. I mean, I think we're going to get more snow, but probably have a big stockpile of it. Do you put sand or salt on the road? Salt, yeah. So you guys do a great job.
I measure the severity of the winter, Brandon, by how many times I fire up my snowblower. Twice. There was a time I was firing it up almost every week, so we certainly have seen a different shift in the climate. But I must admit, it is pleasing, Brandon, when people in my neighborhood who are very far away from downtown are very impressed the fact your team is out there, plowing those roads many times before they even get up. So thank you for that. That's a great tribute to your organization. Okay, with that, Council, then, I'd like a motion then to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Randy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sophie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Council, take